Welcome to the Baked In Podcast, where we uncover the unique ingredients driving extraordinary success. In each episode, we'll explore how leaders and entrepreneurs blend business with purpose, sharing insights on leadership, culture, and practices that inspire meaningful change. In today's episode, we sit down with Matt LaMartina, owner of Tony LaMartina Plumbing Co, a family business serving St. Louis since 1982. When Matt's father, a beloved and larger-than-life plumber, passed away in 2023, Matt found himself stepping into a role he had never planned for. Despite having worked in the company for a decade, Matt is not a licensed plumber and initially came from a career in pharmaceutical sales, armed with an MBA and a fresh perspective on business. In this candid conversation, Matt shares the challenges and triumphs of taking over a business as the next generation, from earning the trust of a skilled team with more institutional knowledge to navigating the emotional weight of filling his father's shoes. We'll explore how Matt's background in sales and business education prepared him to lead, the unique strategies he's implemented to drive growth, and his vision for the future of Tony LaMartina Plumbing. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and get ready to be inspired as we explore what it means to lead with intention, adapt to change, and keep a legacy alive. Let's roll. Well, I'm thrilled to have you on. What folks probably don't know is that you cut my grass when you were in high school.
I did.
And I have this memory of coming home at, I don't know, I worked all kinds of crazy hours back then, so I don't even know what time I came home, but you had your Jeep parked perpendicular in my driveway, lighting up the yard, cutting a diamond pattern, because I think you were supposed to have had it done a handful of hours before, and you felt bad, but you got it done and it looked great.
I did. This was sort of like the early, I guess it was sort of like my early foray into entrepreneurial lifestyle was cutting lawns. And you were one of our clients. I do remember that late night. I do remember having the Jeep on your lawn, and I do remember that diamond cut. Yeah. And it looked good.
It did look good.
I think I charged you maybe $17 for that.
Yeah, this was a long time ago.
That
was good money back then.
It was good money back then. Yeah, for sure.
It was hard for me to part with, too. But I mean, so I knew your dad, Tony. He had done some work for me at the bakery with his plumbing company back when you were doing commercial, and we'll get into some of that stuff, how the business has certainly evolved. But I'm thrilled to have you here. You spent little bit of time in the customer service department at the bakery in the early 2000s. Have a wonderful picture that hopefully I'll be able to post of you with an old computer.
Oh my God. When I saw that picture and I saw the computer, I'm like, wow, that's like ancient.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was ancient.
But that was the start of your customer experience.
Absolutely.
And you've really blown it up, which is what I want to talk to. But I actually would love to start because in doing some research, listened to a service, I can't remember, Tools for the Trade.
Service Titan. Toolbox. Service Titan's Toolbox for the Trade.
Yeah, so that was my commitment to you to know what's going on. But it talked about when you were in business school at WashU, getting your MBA, after time at the bakery, some pharmaceutical sales, some other things, you ended up in a strategic consulting class. Can you kind of tell me the story, which kind of then led into going to work for your dad?
So I went to the PMBA program at WashU, and it was sort of.
What does the P stand for?
Professional. So it's whether you're in the MBA program or the PMBA program, you walk away from the program with an MBA. The PMBA program is geared towards working professionals. So classes were typically held Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays from 6:30 to 9:15 at night. A lot of kids that went into the program were, working professionals. So they worked for Emerson Electric or Anheuser-Busch, Boeing. I was in pharmaceuticals at the time. And the class was called...
And were they paying for you to go to school?
They were, which...
You smile. Why?
I smile because, I was like, God, this is going to be great. Prior to getting into the program, I really wanted to go work in the home office in pharmaceuticals, right? Get into the marketing department. And I knew that meant having an advanced degree. And what that looked like was getting an MBA and then graduating and then moving to New Jersey. When I got into the program, the company sort of switched things a little bit and only reimbursed a percentage of the program versus what they had said early on was we were going to, reimburse you 100%. So either way, it was a great program. I walked away with a great MBA and took this class that was hosted, that was taught by Bill Finney. And Bill, his history is that he was the vice president of strategy for Anheuser-Busch years and years ago during what they called like the beer wars with Anheuser-Busch and Coors and Miller. In this class, the whole capstone project was to create a 10-year strategic plan for a company using the mechanics of his book that he wrote, which is called Hands-On Strategy. What Bill said was, whoever gets the highest grade in the class, they will get my services at no cost to help them launch the plan. So the students in the class were all working professionals at like AB or Emerson or Boeing, like I said. And so a lot of the projects that they kind of came up with were a 10-year strategic plan for like a department at Boeing or a business unit at Emerson, which is really tough to kind of write because they're publicly traded companies. Sure. It's tough to kind of write what that would look like for a 10-year plan. So I chose my dad's company. And at the time, Tony LaMartina Plumbing Co was my dad and maybe 3 plumbers.
And he had started the business in 82?
82. He started in 82. And he was sort of at the point in his career where he wanted to kind of wind things down.
And having known you for a while, you never, ever alluded to the fact that you wanted to go into the plumbing business. So this was purely a project for business school? There was no thought in your head?
This was a project for business school. I didn't want to do it on the drug company because I'm like, what am I going to, like, what the hell am I going to come up with for that? So I wanted to do it with something that I could get my hands around and get access to someone like in a business. And so I picked my dad. And my dad always said, like, look, this is going to die with me. This company is dying with me. Like, you're not going into the business. And I was resigned to the fact that, look, I'm going to make my career in pharma. But once we really got into the mechanics of the book and came up with the business plan, I think we both realized that this was like a diamond in the rough. Like, there was a lot of things about my dad's company that really came to life when we wrote this strategy paper, and it got the highest grade in the class.
So can you tell me, like, what were those things? And because he was, at the time, because he did work for me at the bakery, he was doing everything, right? He was doing commercial, industrial,
absolutely,
residential. He didn't have any really specific focus relative to the business.
It was,
if the pipe burst, he was going to fix it. Didn't matter where it was.
It was like my dad answering the phones, my dad doing all the bookkeeping, my dad, anything that had to do with the office was my dad and my dad only. And then he had 3 plumbers out in the field, and sometimes, he'd have to go out there and run them parts or go do a job. But the strategy really was around understanding our customers, really segmenting our customers. So, we had a lot of data. One thing that my dad did really, really well was he embraced technology. So, he got on things like, this was like we wrote the paper in 2010. But, prior to that, like in the early 2000s, he had his schedule on Google Calendar, right? He was really one of the first plumbers in St. Louis to use a mobile phone. Like in his plumbing truck, he had a phone, and it was like, if you can imagine a desk phone with like a spiral cord, like the kind that we used at the bakery to answer the call. Right. He had one of those mounted on his dashboard in his truck. So he always embraced technology, and because of that, he had a lot of data. And we used that data, and we pulled it out of QuickBooks, and we analyzed it. We found out that there were a couple different segments of customers. The large majority of customers that my dad had were what we would call, like, let's say cluster 1. They were high net worth individuals. They had a real desire for high quality plumbing, professional plumbing, very high touch, white glove. I want this done. I want it done right. I want it done by a professional tradesman. And then there was a second cluster of customers that were more price sensitive. They were sort of like your Angie's List customers who would clip coupons in the Ladue News or would look for any savings they could get from like Groupons at the time when we would do those. And we also found that customers really liked the high touch points that we had. And my dad at the time, like, we didn't have a website. My dad's email address was an Earthlink email address. And so the strategy really came about by using social media, by using coming up with a website. And this was like in 2010, 2011. There weren't a whole lot of plumbing companies that you could email. There weren't a lot of plumbing companies that you could reach out to on their website and actually just request an appointment. And what we ended up doing was the whole strategy paper was focused on how do we elevate customer service? How do we make ourselves more accessible beyond just the telephone? So we ended up launching this, and like it just took off. Like, it was super exciting.
So you graduate, you've got this plan.
Right.
And at that point you decided he was more open to you then coming into the business, and you decided you were more interested in going into the business?
Once we realized like what's possible, it became a whole lot more interesting. I absolutely, like, once we got the results of that paper, I was, Dad, like, I don't want to go into farm anymore. Like, I don't want to go into the marketing department. Like, I want to stay here. Like, let's build this. And he was nervous about it. He had gone through a lot of tough times over the 40 years that he had been in business. There were some real ups and downs. There were some times where, he said, look, if you come on and do this, like, there are going to be weeks, maybe months that you don't take a paycheck, because you got to make sure that your team the guys are paid, that the phone is ringing. Like, the phone ringing is the lifeblood of this business. So,
yeah, I read somewhere where his expression was he didn't want to grow himself broke.
Right. That's exactly right. And that was the big concern. And I think that's a real legitimate concern that a lot of tradespeople have, because the history of like the trades are, you're an apprentice, you're a journeyman, and then you have now the opportunity to earn your master license. And in plumbing, what that looks like is a 5-year apprenticeship. And then you've got a 3-year journeyman training. And then you've got the opportunity to take your master test and get your master's license. And once you have your master's license, you can open up your own shop. And so a lot of plumbers started their shops that way. So they're awesome tradespeople, but they're terrible business people.
Sure. Right.
It's really difficult to run a business because you're out in the truck and you don't have anyone that's looking at the business and answering the phones and doing the accounting and making sure the books are right and making sure they're keeping an eye on your gross margins, your profitability. And that was a struggle for him.
I mean, that's any industry, right?
Yep.
That's chefs, that's bakers, all of us have that transition that we have to figure out how to make, or not make if you can't get there. But so you ended up in the business 2012, 2013. Is that about when you?
I was moonlighting for a while in pharma for about a year. I would be working at night, helping my dad get bookkeeping done and get the schedule set and sort of answer these incoming emails that we would get from customers. And then my dad in late 2012 was like, look, I'm going to make this a lateral move for you. Like, come on board, help me run this company. Like, it's growing too fast. I need help. And that's really when it all started. In 2013 is when it all started. And
so we're now beyond the 10 years. How true did you stay to that 10-year plan?
I would say from 2013 until 2023, like, I don't think that we grew as much as I would have the plan forecasted. It was really tough. We were, I think, facing a lot of, I was facing a lot of like legacy issues. This is just how we've done it, Matt. We've always done it this way. Like, we can't do it another way. This is just how we've always done it. And I realized that in order to grow, that's got to change. So we've got to change, how we're doing.
Was that before we get off that kind of second generation problem? Was that your dad pushing back, or was that your plumbers and the team pushing back on this is how it's always been done?
It was my dad pushing back. And then when we did start to make that transition, when he did start to step away from the business for health reasons, and I started to take over more of the business and I started making those changes, there were definitely individuals in the business that struggled with making that leap.
Yeah. I mean, your dad was larger than life. I mean, I think is a fair way to say it. I mean,
Absolutely.
he had a big personality. When Tony LaMartina came into a room, you knew he was there.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that was what was always kind of fun about of knowing him. We lived down the street from him for a number of years before he passed away, and walking his little pugs. And I mean, he was a character.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I can't even imagine the shoes that you had to fill. One, in not being a master plumber, right? You didn't know what you didn't know. And two, just that personality and the way in which he ran the business.
Yeah.
What was the hardest part about it?
The hardest part, I think, is really trusting the people that are working for you, knowing that I don't have that technical knowledge, I don't have that plumbing knowledge, but I'm trusting that you understand what needs to get done and what the expectation is that the customer has. And so, like, relinquishing that control. And, I had to do that because I don't have the plumbing knowledge. I mean, I have got incredible tradesmen that work for me. They're so incredible at what they do. And so I've been able to trust them that they know not just like kind of technically what needs to be done, but also how to talk with the younger generation of plumbers that are coming on, how to train them up.
Because like you mentioned a minute ago, a lot of these folks, once they get to the master plumber, once they pass that test, they'll go do their own thing. So what are you doing? Is the fact that you are not a master plumber, are you doing something special to keep those guys from leaving? Is there a way in which you've kept them from wanting to go do their own thing?
So the big thing for me is creating these opportunities in the organization is to continue to grow Tony LaMartina Plumbing so that there are career paths now. You're not just resigned to the fact that you're going to be a field plumber for the rest of your life. You don't have to do that. You can rise up to become a field supervisor, and you can help support, younger apprentice plumbers that are out there, doing water heater installs or toilet installs or garbage disposals. You can become a service manager or an install manager. You can become a fleet manager. You can come into the call center and become a dispatcher. You can be an install coordinator. As we grow and develop, we're going to start unlocking a lot of positions that aren't normally unlocked because a lot of companies struggle with growing beyond $5 million. They sort of, for a long time, we were churning at like $2.5 million, and we couldn't figure out how to get past $2.5 million. How do we get to that next level? And so right now we're about ready to break $5 million. And my goal.
So what did you do, or what did you unlock in that 2.5 or 3? Because that is, you're absolutely right. It's a huge step, not only from a revenue perspective, but it's organizationally a big step. I mean, I remember those. That's the time where now you have to have a bookkeeper. Like you have to start bringing in positions that aren't necessarily turning wrenches, right? For us, it was easy to keep adding bakers, but at some point you've got to run the business, and when you get to that $5 or $7 million range, all of a sudden it's a real company.
Yep.
And you're adding people that aren't necessarily adding specific value. You're not helping you make more pounds of bread on a given day or service more calls. But what did you do? What was the thing that you feel like you unlocked there?
Shortly after my dad passed away in January of 23, I had an opportunity to sit down with Chris Hoffman, and we had lunch over at Carl's Deli.
From Hoffman Brothers.
Hoffman Brothers, yeah. And we were talking about some struggles that we were both facing in St. Louis. And it was really focused around licensing and permitting and just like how many struggles there are and barriers there are to just kind of running a trades business in St. Louis. And I was talking about the success that he was having at Hoffman Brothers with, plumbing and HVAC and electrical and drains and appliances and all these great things that they're doing. I'm like, how did you do it? And he's like, we got a lot of help from an organization called Nexstar. And I said, I've heard about Nexstar, and I'm going to see if I can, get involved with them. And Chris said, well, let me make an introduction for you. And so Chris made this introduction to Nexstar, and it was an absolute game changer for us.
So for those of us not in the trades, what is Nexstar?
So Nexstar is a best practices organization that focuses on helping residential service and repair companies that are specific to plumbing, HVAC, and electrical. It helps them grow and scale. It helps them understand what you need at the certain levels of your business. So if you're at a $2.5 million business, here are the struggles that you're having right now in your business, and here's how to overcome those challenges. And here's what it looks like for training employees.
So organizational consulting, as opposed, they're not marketing, they're not helping you to find new customers.
No, this is all tactical.
Okay.
This is all tactical. So they will help you understand how to train your CSRs, your call center reps, how to train your dispatcher, your call center manager, how to have those conversations with homeowners when your plumber shows up and homeowners have all sorts of questions about what needs to be done or what the pricing is going to be or what it looks like when your installation team comes to the door. It helps us become more professional. It helps us become a more professional organization. And it touches every single part of our organization. And when we joined in May of 23, it was an eye-opener for me. For the 3 years previous, I was in Vistage, which is an absolute awesome organization. We met monthly, and we always had incredible conversations that were around like these big ideas. So Vistage would have speakers like Simon Sinek or Jim Collins, or we would talk about kind of what Steve Jobs did at Apple, and we'd have all these great discussions, but I always struggled with, how do I roll this out in my plumbing company? I could never figure out how to implement it. And when we joined Nexstar, they have this like 2-day crash course called Operational Excellence that you go to St. Paul, Minnesota, and you're in class for a couple of days, and they're really talking about all these incredible ideas, and it's the same stuff that I learned in Vistage. So it's EOS, it is Simon Sinek and why, it's Jim Collins and the Hedgehog Principle. All of these great ideas are now distilled down to what you need to do as the owner of a trades company, how to run your business, how to make it so that you can grow and scale and offer all of your employees these great opportunities. And like, I was completely bought in, like hook, line, and sinker. Like, I drank the Kool-Aid, and I couldn't be happier with the journey that we're on right now.
Yeah, but it's got to be hard though, because you've taken this kind of legacy company that your dad was the head guy of. You've come in as second generation. Did you get a lot of pushback? I mean, because you're talking about a complete overhaul of the culture, probably
right.
The mission, the values. Now all of a sudden, especially, we've gone through the EOS exercise. I mean, the definition of core values and the mission and trying to communicate that all effectively is, even for a company, and I'm still running, there wasn't a leadership change, but even that was a challenge.
Right.
So what was the hardest part? What were the biggest obstacles as you've tried to professionalize an organization that was really a small family business, for lack of a better way to say it, for so many years?
I think the biggest obstacle was just understanding that, like I was really becoming my own worst enemy. I think that I was not relinquishing aspects of the company that I know I needed to relinquish. Like, in order for us to grow, I have to grow as an individual. It's sort of like that John Maxwell leadership principle of the lid, right? Like, we can only, if I'm the lid on the organization as the leader, everyone that's working for me and reporting to me can only grow as far as where I am at. So it's like, I've got to get uncomfortable with, I've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Sure.
And it's hard conversations. It's managing people and not processes. It's creating processes now. And now how do we help people understand what this process is and how to manage the person that's managing the process? It's a completely different way to look at the business, but it's been so exciting. And there's no way, like, I am so committed to honoring the legacy that my dad has created. So I often tell people, like, I stand on his shoulders, and my dad stands on his father's shoulders, and his father stands on his father's shoulders. So, like, the legacy of plumbing in St. Louis with the LaMartina family goes back to the early 1900s when Vincenzo LaMartina came over from Sicily and worked in St. Louis as a laborer for plumbers. And he learned how to lay pipe by watching other master plumbers do that. And then Vincenzo's son, Jim, my dad's dad, my grandfather, became the first licensed master plumber for the LaMartina family in St. Louis. And Jim started the LaMartina Plumbing Company, which is still alive today.
Right. Which is not the same as the Tony LaMartina.
Which is not the same as Tony LaMartina Plumbing. So the LaMartina Plumbing Company has a very rich legacy in St. Louis. A lot of plumbing companies in St. Louis started at the LaMartina Plumbing Company. A lot of the masters that rose to the rank from apprentice to master started at the LaMartina Plumbing Company. And my dad, one of them, started there, became a master, and then started his own plumbing company, Tony LaMartina Plumbing. And so, I want to be able to carry on this legacy into the future. And
and it's so cool to hear that, because obviously, as you mentioned before, and knowing you for a long time, I mean, your dad didn't envision that. You certainly didn't envision that ever. Mm-hmm. And it's really so fascinating to hear that passion now. Get there, and you've always been a passionate guy, like everything that you've done. You were always a little impatient. I'm going to use that word.
Absolutely.
I remember you came to work for us as a driver. You started driving the van.
I know where this is going.
And I was working the oven. You came back from your shift. I don't know, you'd been there 2 weeks maybe? And you were like,
Josh,
okay,
I'm ready.
I got it.
I'm ready now.
Yeah,
I think I can go into the office.
I'm ready for what's next.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I was so impatient. Yeah, no, there's no question about it. I look back and I cringe at some of the things that I know I put you through.
Oh, it was a real joy. Did you know that businesses can help protect our planet with every sale? That's the idea behind 1% for the Planet, a global movement where companies pledge 1% of their top-line revenue to environmental causes. Since 2002, members have given nearly $700 million to nonprofits tackling critical issues like climate change, conservation, and food insecurity. At Companion Baking, we're proud to be a part of this mission in 2025. We're contributing through local partnerships, like donating $50,000 in baked goods to the St. Louis Area Food Bank and supporting regenerative agriculture through our partnership with ADM. Learn more about how 1% for the Planet is driving change at 1%fortheplanet.org. So I think, what did I read? In addition to, as we were talking about your impatience, you mentioned you just hit about $5 million in revenue.
Yep.
And somewhere I read that this thing's going to be $100 or $200 million.
$100 million company.
Right?
$100 million.
Is that the? So what do you think? What's keeping you up at night as you look forward to get from 5 to 100 million?
People, leadership, core values, mission. I mean, like, God, I'm at the point right now where when I walk into the office, I know everybody, right? We can have conversations, and I know where.
So how many people? What is the office?
So
now?
what
Does it look like?
We're at about 27 people. We just moved into a brand new space, which we're super excited about. We went from I hate to even say this, but we were in like this shitbox house in like this Cheltenham neighborhood of St. Louis, which it's like on the other side of Dogtown, 715 square feet. I had 7 people working in this office.
Well, yeah, and I think your office was, I think from LinkedIn, it was in the kitchen, right? In the break room? Weren't you working out of the break room?
At one point I was in the break room. I was in the kitchen. At one point I think I was in the basement. At the other, I was basically in the call center, sitting next to our CSRs. It was a nightmare. And so we ended up moving into this awesome new space. We've got about 1,600 square feet, and it's just a breath of fresh air. Like, it's breathed so much new life into the company.
Now, are you being a big tech guy? Like, do you got a ping pong table and a bar, or like, are you that guy, or what is this place? What does it look like? What's the feel of this office?
So we've got TVs all over the office, but that's mostly for stats. Like, I want to be able to see KPIs. So like we have a TV for our call center so that they know what the 3-day call board looks like. We've got, a TV where you can walk into the office and see the scoreboard, so we know kind of like where the jobs are around St. Louis, where we're at for month to date, where we're at year to date. We've got this flat screen in the warehouse area that we have meetings. So we just started doing these meetings. I call them M&M meetings, right? It's called morbidity and mortality, right? And so a lot of times in teaching hospitals, well, they still have these, they have M&M. And it's like usually early in the morning, you've got the residents that have to come in, and then you've got the fellows and you've got the chiefs, and they all come into this auditorium. And it's usually because a case has gone sideways, right? Like something happened, patient like bled out on the table, and we're gonna have some resident come up and explain like, hey, what the hell happened? And you're gonna have your peers in the audience asking you questions. And then you're gonna have the fellows and the master and the chiefs like asking you these questions. Well, I wanted to do something like that for us. Now that we've got the space, we're doing these M&M meetings. And
how often?
We've done them weekly. So it's usually Wednesday mornings, early in the morning, we come in, and in our case, the residents at the teaching hospital, that's our apprentices, right? Then we've got the fellows who are the journeymen, and then we've got the chiefs who are the masters. So we've got these 3 sort of generations of plumbers, and the way it looks is a job went sideways. Something happened. Maybe it failed inspection. Maybe there was a leak or a callback that happened. Okay, well, let's look at what happened. So we will usually have the service plumber come up and present what happened. Hey, I went to Josh Allen's house. He had a low water pressure at the faucet. I went downstairs, and here are some pictures that we took of the main shutoff valve, and here's what the pressure reducing valve looks like. And so I talked to Josh about some options that we've got that we can take care of this, and Josh decided to go with this option here. Okay, great. Now we look at this and say, okay, well, we ended up flipping that job over to our install team. We like to call it our fulfillment team, right? They come in and they will now take the job that our service plumber put together and execute on it, right? It might be same day, it might be next day. Okay, well, what happened here? So the fulfillment plumber comes up and he talks about how he took the hand off and he did this, this, and this, and here's how the job turned out, and here's the post video, right, if you will. And so we have a discussion, and it's a safe zone, like no one's losing their job. We're just here to get better. And so it's been really
How's
really
it been for
powerful.
the service guys who have to present?
It's awkward.
Right?
Like it's awkward, right? Like you're presenting your videos. So like, some of these guys, like they don't take the best video, right? Like they're taking a video, but they're not talking in the video. They're not narrating, right? And so we stop the video, and it's like, well, Nathan, what good is that video? Do you think that was a good information that you presented to the fulfillment guy? Are they ready to take over this job? And it's a learning experience, right? And Nathan's an incredible plumber, but like on this particular video, like he probably could have done better. And now when he does videos in the future, hopefully he's taking more notes and he's learning from that so that we can hand this off to the next team. It's been really exciting. The next step is to do it for positives, right?
Sure. Catch people doing something right.
We got great reviews. Like Josh went on and gave our business a 5-star review on Google. What happened there? Like, let's check it out. Let's dig into the video. Let's look at the photos. Let's have the service team talk about that. Let's have the fulfillment team talk about, like, what'd that look like? Yeah, Josh had white carpet in his basement, and we made sure to put all the site protection down when we took the water heater out to make sure that there was nothing that happened anywhere in his house. And we cleaned up really well, and it looks amazing. And we went ahead and reviewed the entire job with Josh, and he's super happy about it. Like, that's what's going to get us to the next level. Like, that's what's going to help us develop our plumbers into even better plumbers.
I mean, look, that's great stuff for any company, though. Like, that idea of catching people doing something right and figuring out how to replicate that. Because the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? Like, we put all of our attention behind, the 8 complaints a month that we've got, and we don't worry about the hundreds of thousands of things we do right every month. And we got to flip it on its head.
At Companion, when I was there was a sheet that got hung up for, I think it was like some of the mistakes that happened.
It was missed opportunity.
And I remember there were a couple guys from the bake floor that would come out, and like as soon as that sign got posted, they'd come out there and they would nitpick and like, oh, no. This wasn't our mistake. This was the office. They gave us the wrong batch amount. They took the order wrong. They fat fingered, like Bill Cardwell didn't want, 120 loaves of rosemary. He only wanted 12 loaves of rosemary. So somebody, so now we're sitting there with 100 loaves of rosemary sitting on the racks because
but you're right, and I got to leave this conversation and figure out how to do the other side of it, because even now we track imperfect orders, right?
Right.
Same idea. We could have screwed up anything. You could give the tech the wrong address. You could misdo the invoice. You could charge the wrong credit card number. We could, like, the pallet could be bad for, like, it could be anything. It's just imperfect. It isn't ideal.
Like, what's causing friction in the organization?
And if we can eliminate imperfect orders, we should make more money. We should have less mistakes, build better credibility, all of those things. But the flip side of that is what you're talking about, though, is what about the things that we're doing right? What if we just kept cheering our team on about all the good shit they're doing, and then they're going to keep doing more good stuff?
Right.
I would think. I mean, I think you're absolutely right. Nathan's going to want to stand up there and tell you all the reasons why why I loved what you guys did when you came to my house.
Yep.
I know you're a big customer experience guy. I think one of the cool things, I have used your plumbing services, so we don't have white carpet because we have 2 boys. So that's not happening in our house. But I get a text before your tech shows up with like his yearbook post. Like, here's a picture of Nathan. Here's what he likes to do on the weekends. It's a really cool, the communication that you do with the customers to start to build. Well, tell me about it. I mean, it seems like it's just about building trust, right?
You are as a homeowner, you've got this problem. And that problem, this plumbing problem, is causing you anxiety. Like, you don't want, like, no one's calling a plumber because it's like, hey, I just want you to come over to the house and hang out with me. Like, it's always a problem. It's always an emergency. And so how do we create this experience for someone so that it lowers the anxiety level? And a lot of that has to do with right when they call into the office, reassuring them that you've called the right place. Being able to then pass over to our scheduler is going to get you on the right day, the right time, and make sure that you're being put with the right plumber that's going to take care of this. And then as soon as you're on for the day, you're going to be getting alerts in the morning, text alerts from us saying, hey, Josh, plumbers are moving out from the office right now. You're on the schedule for today. We're going to keep you updated throughout the whole day. Like, you do not have to wait around for us. Like, we will give you plenty of heads up. So don't let this stop you from.
And as personal as that feels, that's all automated now. Like, you have a system that takes care of it.
Yeah, a lot of it's automated. We've really leaned into a lot of automation and AI with our call center, and it's been really helpful to allow us to provide some really great experiences for our customers. But as soon as that plumber dispatches to your house, you're going to get a text, and it's going to be a great photo of Nathan. It's going to have where Nathan grew up. It's what Nathan wants to communicate to you, like what his interests are, where he went to high school, like where he went to technical training school, and what he likes to do. Because frankly, they're coming over to your house. They're in your house. They might be in your master bathroom. I mean, that's a pretty personal space, right? You want to know who's coming over. And so as soon as you get that alert, you're also able to see where we are en route. It's almost like this Uber feature where you can now see, oh, the truck is driving down Lindbergh. Oh, he's on 40. He's gonna be here in like 15 minutes. Let me head back to the house. I picked up a few things. I'm gonna go back to the house and meet Nathan.
And it's all, I mean, like you said, it's all automated. It's all available technology, but a lot of companies, they don't care enough to want to build that relationship, right? Even though it's accessible to them and they could do it.
Right.
They don't want to do it.
They don't want to do it.
They choose not to do it.
Yeah. And that's where we've really made our focus is serving homeowners. We don't work for general contractors. We don't do new home construction. We don't do renovations, because the people that you work for in those situations, like the general contractors, they don't care about Nathan's bio. They don't give a shit where he went to high school. Get to my job, get it done as fast as possible, and get the hell out of here. Right. I'm going to pay you in like 30 days or whenever I get around to it, right? And so we don't want that kind of business. And we've made a point to create a business that lowers that anxiety and gives homeowners really, I think, what they're craving from the trades, which is just a great experience.
So what kind of metrics do you guys look at? Because you mentioned the big board in the office, the TV. What kind of metrics specifically around customer experience are you looking at? Are there, and I guess plumbing is interesting because obviously if I don't have, as great of an experience as I have with you, if I don't have another problem, like you said, I don't have a reason to call you again. But yeah. In general, we've used you for clogged pipes, we've used you for a water heater, yep. We've used you for a sprinkler system, like different things. But what are the metrics that you're looking at when you talked about your scorecard? What does your scorecard look like?
So it looks like, how much time are you spending talking to Josh? Like, Josh might have this problem with like the running toilet, but like, what's really going on there? Like, what are the underlying problems of the plumbing system? And so, yes, could we go in there and just like fix the toilet and like, oh yeah, like it's great, like you're done? Or is there a larger problem here that's causing your toilet to run? Could it be a water pressure issue? If it's happening in this toilet at the master bathroom, is it happening in any of the kids' bathrooms? Let's figure out what's really going on and spend some time asking good questions. So I want my plumbers to be talking with you for like 45 minutes before they turn a wrench. I don't want them going in, just fixing the problem and getting out of there. Like, you're paying for this experience. Like, we want to give you the time. Like, we're there. Let's make sure that any plumbing problem that you have, we can fix it or at least identify it and let you know how pressing it is, if it's something to be concerned about, or maybe it's just a quick little tweak that I can make while I'm here working on your toilet. So it's, how long are we engaging with you? I want you to be there for 45 minutes talking to Josh before you do anything. Like, really understand Josh's problems. The other piece of it is I want you to show Josh what's possible. So when you're having this conversation with him, is he complaining about the fact that it takes like, while he's trying to wash his face at night, it takes like 3 minutes for him to get hot water to his bathroom sink? Like, that's kind of annoying. Like, you've got to turn the hot water on, walk away for a few minutes and come back and only then have hot water. Are there things that you'd be interested in knowing? Like, did you know that it's possible to actually have instant hot water at your bathroom sink? He may not even know that. Let him know that what's possible. I mean, we're there now. Be able to give him options. Yeah, I can fix your toilet, no problem. Like, here's this option. I can also fix your toilet and give you instant hot water at your bathroom sink. And I can also, fix your kid's toilet, your toilet, and do the hot.
Are they incentivized to upsell? I mean, does it feel? I don't remember having that long of a conversation with those guys. I mean, you're not. It's not an uncomfortable sort.
No, they're not incentivized to present options to you. They're not incentivized to stay in talking with you for 45 minutes. Like, this is what we want the customer experience to look like. I want you to feel like you have control of this situation, like, because you do. You're inviting us into your home. We want to be able to understand what it is, and you have ultimate control. We'll do whatever you want us to do. Like, you want us to leave without fixing anything? That's fine. We can totally do that. We just want to be able to show you what's possible. Like, that's it. So it's really helping to educate homeowners as to what's possible.
But taking a step back, I guess, to the, and we talk a lot about metrics on this show. So as you look at that scoreboard what is that scoreboard for you, or your personal dashboard?
How many
what
options?
Are the metrics are you?
What are the average number of options that you're presenting to the homeowner?
Okay.
Like, is it less than 3? Why is it less
And how
than
are those coming back to you? It's in some kind of form. And
so Service Titan really allows us to track all of these metrics. So how many times have our plumbers gone to your house and done more work than just the dispatch fee? So we have an $89 dispatch fee. We come out to your house, and if we do something for you while we're at your house, we waive that $89, right? How many times have we gone out and done work for customers where we have collected more than $89, right? What does it look like for how many memberships have you signed customers up with? So we've got like a Tony's Plumbing Protection Plan membership. So it looks like how many active members do we have as a service plumber? Have you been talking about this to homeowners where we're able to come into your house once a year and do a 65-point plumbing inspection and a water heater flush at no cost? So we look at memberships, we look at options, we look at how much time you're spending in what we call like the explore step, talking with the homeowner about lifestyle questions. How are you using your plumbing system? Are you going to be here for the long term, or are you looking to flip the house? Those are some of the big ones.
Yeah.
Those are some of the big ones that we look for. Like average ticket, these are some of the things, like the average ticket, what's the average sale that we have? Those are all sort of the key metrics that any home service company that's looking to grow is going to be focused on.
And you're talking to your team about those? You're looking at those daily, weekly?
Every technician has what we call a scorecard, so they know what their metrics are and where they're at.
So the $100 million thing is a big growth thing, right? And I know it's a fun number to throw out there, but I also know you well enough to know that you're kind of serious about it. Is that all in St. Louis? Like, what does the next 5 to 10 years look like for Tony LaMartina Plumbing, if that's the carrot dangling out there?
I want to be at $10 million by 2028. I'd love to be at. I'd love to get our business, the core of our business, to continue to be plumbing. It probably is going to look like multi-trade. It's probably going to look like electrical will need to be added, maybe HVAC. That's down the road. But, as you start to grow and scale, like in plumbing, a lot of times you're going to find that you need those other trades to support you more and more. So right now, we might put in a water heater at your house, and it might be a power vent water heater, and because it's a power vent, we need to have an electrician run power to where the water heater needs to be. And so right now, we are subcontracting that service out to an electrician. Is that something that we can bring in-house? Probably, but right now, do we have that much need for an electrician? No, we don't. We're going to get to the point where we will need to have a full-time electrician on staff. So what does it look like to have an additional trade in-house? How is that going to help us grow to $100 million? A lot of trade companies will often throw out that kind of number. Like, I want to get to 10 and then I want to get to 100 million. Nexstar, going back to Nexstar, they have the playbooks to get to those levels. They help you scale from 5 to 10 and then 10 to 20. And what does the org chart look like?
So that's an ongoing relationship with them?
Ongoing relationship.
That you're maintaining?
Absolutely.
How often are you interfacing with them?
Monthly.
So
I've got a monthly meeting with my business coach. And then
is there peers too, in addition to
this? So I've got a personal.
So it's kind of like the
directors.
Vistage model, but it's specific to the trades.
Yep. So I've got a personal board of directors. It's 5 other trades companies that are scattered throughout the U.S. It's all owners, and we get together every couple of weeks and we sort of talk about, hey, here are the struggles that I'm having. Here's what I'm seeing in my market. How are you guys dealing with this type of objection? Or we've got, these types of internal growth issues that we're facing with like values and culture. Like, what's important for you guys? How did you guys handle this hurdle? it's an amazing organization.
Yeah.
It really
it's,
is.
I mean, it's cool the way that you're thinking about stuff. I mean, as we start to kind of wrap up here, as much as I could talk to you all day, what's a piece of advice that you would give to somebody kind of in this kind of same potential second generation slot that you ended up in, who's moving into a business similar to you where they don't have the expertise, right? The specific expertise, but they're going to come in and potentially take over business. Is there something looking back 10 or 12 years now that you could have done differently or wish you would have known or done differently?
I wish we would have had a better handle on pricing. I think pricing was one of those things that we struggled for years to do pricing right. And that's without the right price, you can't grow. Like you need to have the right price so that you can generate a profit to reinvest back into the company. That's the only way we were able to grow. Like we were constantly drawing down our line of credit to the point where it was
I don't
maxed out.
know that there's a more important topic to talk about for any company, right? And we don't talk about it enough, but we talk about it every day. Like it's the hardest thing to figure out. How do you price it affordably enough to get the business with the opportunity, whatever that happens to be to whoever the customer is, but high enough to have something left over to have it make sense. I mean, it is really, really challenging. And I imagine with the internet now and the transparency that exists more and more, that it's even harder.
But even the sacrifices that you have to make, we made sacrifices to, like, we are going to laser focus on residential service and repair. Like, we get contacts coming in to the call center about renovation jobs, general contractors. We get, large companies that manage facilities, apartment buildings. Would these be lucrative? Probably. Are these like large dollar contracts? Could some of these like things be like in the 10s, 20s, 30s, $50,000 contracts? Yeah. But that doesn't fit into my business model. Like if I was to take that on, it would strain what we're doing to the point where it doesn't make sense. It harms the organization.
Which is really, I mean, that takes a lot of discipline too. As somebody who's somebody impatient, like we were talking about
before.
You're
going to keep going back there with the
impatience. Well, no, but I'm the same way. I mean, we say yes a lot,
right,
and then realize down the road that yes was probably not the best answer. Like the answer should have been, it's not really what we do, but we try to do a lot of things for people because I have a great relationship with Matt and his restaurant or his country club, and you need something that's a little bit outside of our wheelhouse, but we have a great relationship, so I'm going to try to figure it out. And we chase our tail a lot with stuff like that, even to 32 years into the business. Like it takes a lot of discipline to say no, and so I'm more proud of you knowing what I know about you because of that impatience and your ability to say it, because that ability to focus that's huge.
Like the what you said about what you just said rings so true. Like I will have friends and neighbors that have a business and they've got, a commercial building that they just need to have this toilet worked on, right? It's just running a little bit. It's like, okay, I'll send them over there. We'll work on it. And it turns out like, oh, we've got to shut the water off to the building. Oh shit. It's a commercial building. Like we've got to go outside the building to do that. And it's a massive water main and we can't turn it off because we don't have the equipment to do that. And now all of a sudden you start saying yes to people that you want to help, because you want to be that nice guy. I don't want to turn them over to someone who's like a chuck in a truck who's going to just run by
because you probably did a big project at their house and they're a good customer and
you just got to know when to say no. Like this is outside of my wheelhouse. Like I love you, but I can't do this. Like I know what we're really good at and we're not good at this.
And I think saying no as quickly as possible is the
100%.
best part of that, because it's when you 100%. Hem and haw, like I do a lot, and you try it and then you screw it up.
Well, maybe we can do it. We'll send Mark over. Mark knows, and
Mark's done commercial,
right? And Mark's done commercial, and so it turns into a mess, and it looks bad, and then it's a bad experience, and it's not the kind of experience you want people to have with your company. So it's like if the advice that I would give is know your price. And know your business. Like, know what you want to do and what you want to be known for, and stay in that lane.
There you go. So when you're not learning your pricing and staying focused, what do you enjoy doing? How does Matt relax and recharge?
I love riding my bike. So I'm talking to Stuart over at Maplewood Bicycle. He's building me a custom bike. And it's probably not going to happen until like March or April.
What's the frame? What do you got?
Steel frame. I'm going to go steel frame. I'm going to do a
little old school.
I'm going to do old school, right? So I'm doing Shimano 105. So it's all mechanical, right? None of this digital stuff. Tim Ray, who's the bike fitter over there, has got me into like a really great frame. I'm really excited about it. And then we're working with this company out of Colorado called Dark Matter Finishing. They do custom paint jobs. And so I'm going to have the bike frame have like this copper pipe look to it. And it's going to have a solder logo for the company on it. And then the bike manufacturer would have it done in solder too. So it's going to look like a copper pipe.
And you can write this off because it's...
Of course.
It's advertising.
Didn't you... Stuart was telling me that you had a bike with baguettes on it. Is that right?
No, I
had a bike frame with baguettes on it.
I had a steel frame, a Land Shark, which I actually still have, but the guys at Mesa made it, and we did it was coffee and bread theme, and it was like this purple and brown, and I'll show it to us. We'll go out on it because I still have it.
Do you ride a steel frame? Do you like steel?
I don't ride it all the time. I do have carbon that I ride most of the time, but
Yep.
the steel I like getting out of.
I've got a carbon fiber frame, a Trek. It's 12, 15 years old. It's fast, but it's a hard ride. Like you kind of get beaten up a little bit on a carbon frame. But when I'm not working, I love riding my bike around St. Louis. I love riding around Forest Park. I'm really excited to start cycling again because I'm like just dying inside.
Well, let's get some good weather. Well, thank you. Thanks for joining me. It's really great. It's great to see you. I wish we could see each other more, but you're busy, and I wish I wasn't so busy. But we're going to get out on the bikes.
Yeah, we are.
And continued good luck. And I got a lot of things to take with me here from this conversation. So Thank you for that.
I appreciate it, Josh.
Thanks so much for joining me today. I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed sharing these insights from folks I truly admire. Be sure and follow the show in your favorite podcast player to be alerted to newly released episodes. And share a comment if you have any feedback or future contributor recommendations.